Hi, I'm Lucas Clawson, historian at Hagley Museum and Library, and this is Hagley From Home. One of the things you can learn about here at Hagley is automobiles and the automotive industry. Our collections have a lot of information about businesses that dealt with the automotive industry, people, all sorts of things where you can learn about cars, paints, everything that you really want to know in some cases about automobiles. One of the biggest collections that have to do with cars is the DuPont company. We have things like the DuPont Duco, automotive paints and finishes, some of their records, even manuals on automotive finishes, some of the earliest color cards that show you what some of these early DuPont paints looked like. So a lot of sales literature, manuals, things like that from the 20s all the way up through the early 2000s. People like Jeff Gordon and the Rainbow Warrior for NASCAR and his endorsement of DuPont paints and finishes. And some of these neat posters that were put up in companies that sold DuPont paints. The DuPont company also for a while in the 1920s owned a controlling interest of General Motors. So some of those records are part of Pierre DuPont's papers and embedded with many of the DuPont company collections. We've also got a lot of interior and industrial designers who worked on cars in the automotive industry. One of them was a fellow named John Gordon Rideout, who did designs for the Stout Automobile Company in the 20s and 30s. So some of the photographs of the cars that he worked on and some of the design drawings for the automobile styling that he did. Raymond Loewy, who was one of the most famous designers whose papers are here at Hagley, worked for the Studebaker Company in the 60s and 70s designing the Avanti automobile. So we have lots of beautiful literature like this that show the car and some of the sales brochures, things that went out, plus a lot of Raymond Loewy's drawings, correspondence with the Studebaker Company, a lot of the back-end things that deal with Raymond Loewy designing this car and marketing it for sale to popular audiences. The largest collection we have that has to do with the automotive industry is the Z. Taylor Vinson collection. It's a huge collection mostly of sales literature, trade pamphlets, those sort of things that were collected by a guy named Z. Taylor Vinson. He himself worked for the government doing work with the automotive industry. He's one of the people that helped come up with like the high rear brake lights on cars. So he himself was a tremendous collector, pulled all these things together, and it all came to Hagley. So cars from the 1890s all the way up to his death in the early 2000s, all sorts of trade literature about that. So if you didn't know that you could learn about the automotive industry at Hagley, now you do. Come check us out on the web at www.hagley.org or check out digital.hagley.org, which is our digital archives. You can take a look there and find a lot of the things that we have talked about today in the collections.